And welcome to today's session. So today we'll actually proceed with the remaining topics of file handling. So before we proceed further, let me tell you what are the things we have actually covered so far and we are familiar with. One is definitely the read operation, write operation. And under write operation, we are having write and write lines, right? Writing one line, writing single line, and multiple lines. And gone through one example and append also. Append operation. I think multiple examples we have gone through in the previous sessions. Append operation. Uh, One moment. Append operation, and then we have gone through the models like OS. In the OS model, we have gone through a lot of examples, right? How to copy, how to delete, how to rename, all these operations we have actually done, right? And then also to delete the complete structure, we have gone through the SHUTL model. Okay, so uh, that's all about what we have gone through so far, right? And then today we are going to do few more operations on files, and then we'll understand how tail is working, how check is working, and all these operations we are going to understand today. And once we have this covered, then we are done with the basic file operations. Basically, the basic file txt file operations. Let me take you through the course content. Here we go. And in the file, we were actually going through the file content. So here we go. Uh, yeah. So we are actually here, text file and binary files, and we have spent good amount of time understanding the different modes or that plus. Like whenever you want to actually do read and write operations, you can actually go for at plus like read and write operation. And write and read, it is W plus. Then A as in append, and append and read, you can actually go ahead with A plus. X as in exclusive creation. If the file is present, we'll get error. If the file is not present, then it will create the file exclusively. B as in binary file, T is the default mode. You are giving R or RT, not giving anything, all are same. So that's all about the operation so far, which we are actually familiar. So let us write a program, and then I'm just going to give you example here, like now file operation, file operation. Let us do one thing. Let us correlate and understand the things how it is working in Linux and Unix basically. Like let's say for example, cat. Cat is nothing but a read, right? The cat operation, file operation cat. I'm just giving you. Let's say I'm just going to use the same file. Let me see if it is sample file is there. Yeah. So I'm just going to use, think here, like now we are having some files over here. Let me remove like the repetitive lines here. Python is fun. Let it be here like now. I want to edit this file anyway. Okay, so that's fine. So it's all done. Okay, so now here we go. So Python is fun. We are exploring file operations up to the line number 7. Line number 7 also I am just going to delete it. That's it. So now we are having 6 files, sorry, 6 lines here in this particular file sample.txt. Let us do a cat operation. In Unix or Linux, what you do? Cat file name. This is what you do. Programmatically, if I want to do, then how do I do it, right? So now, how to do that? Let us write a program and then understand how it works. I'm just using with open. It is in my current directory. So what I can do is I can directly give like a sample. If you are using PyCharm, it will suggest the file names. Let's say I'm just typing sample. It is able to pull the details like what are the files matching with SAMP. It is sample or sample when it's suggesting these are the files present. If I present let's say hello .txt, no suggestions because this file is not present. Okay. Now if I is present, let's specify like C colon slash slash Python training, right? and then / Python, and then I'm just giving like python Python, then / sample. We can also do this way. Anything is fine. If it is in current directory, no need to specify the path. If it is Linux type path, the path naming will be something similar to this. Let's say apt/project /my data /sample sample.txt, something like this. So this is Linux or Unix type path naming convention, right? So we use like forward slash. Here we are actually using backslash. So that's fine. So I'm just using like sample.txt, and here I'm not specifying anything. When we are not specifying anything, as FD, I'm just giving file descriptor, and then here I can say, think about here right now with pen sample.txt as FD. Earlier we used to do this, like let's say lines equals to, I'm just going to give like just read fd.read fd.read. That's it. Read the entire content and store it. Right? But a large amount of file lines are there, like file size is big, don't do this. Okay. So now if I'm giving like print lines, let us see like now what we are going to get. Now if I'm running this, it is giving us the entire data as is. Okay, Python is fun. All 6-7 lines are actually there. But the question is, do we really need fd.read? The answer is no, we really don't need it. And we do, as compared to this approach, we do have a faster approach because FD itself is an iterator. FD itself is an iterator. Let's say, for example, why I'm calling it iterator, because I'm just giving you for line in, I'm just giving FD. FD is nothing but a file descriptor or a file iterator. Okay. So now here, if I'm giving for line in FD, print line, because each line is having a /n. By default, let us give like end equals to nothing. End is null. Now, if I'm specifying this, here you can see it does the same thing. So this is similar as like cat file name. So that's the reason I've given like cat file name. Now think about, I have like a lot of lines over here, and you are coming, if you are coming from a Linux or Unix background, you must be familiar with grep, right? So now how do we implement grep in Python, right? And let's say without using the grep command, how do we implement grep on this particular file? Let me write another file. I'm just giving examples so that you can correlate and understand the things better way. So now I'm just giving your file operation and just giving like similar to grep. This is not, grep is powerful as compared to like this approach what we are going to learn here, but we can practice using Python programs too. Let's say grep, I'm just giving like grep, this is what we give, pattern, and then file name or file names. Okay, grep pattern or file name or file names. Now in this is how we are specifying in the command line, sorry, in the commands, basically grep command. Now if I want to find out the lines which is containing let's say Python, only Python, give me those lines. So I'm just looking for Python is fun, Python with AI/ML, and we'll deal with JSON files too, Python and data science, and then Python and data science here. Okay, so these are the 3-4 lines whatever we are actually going to get. Now how do I do the same operation, like if the line contains Python, give me those lines. It is very easy, guys. Like what we can actually do here is we can specify if, okay, if Python in line, it is case sensitive. If Python is Python in line, then print line, then the line, and we can say like end equals to null. That's it. And run the program. Here you can see it is actually printing the lines which is actually containing Python. Now, if your requirement is, I'm just giving another example, like you don't want the lines which contains Python. In grep, what you do, like you can specify grep hyphen v pattern, right? I don't want the lines which contains Python. Then what I can do here is I can specify, just writing the same thing here. If Python not in line, give me those lines. To differentiate, I can actually put a separator here, like print hyphen, let's say I'm just giving like 80 times. Okay. So now if I'm running this program, here you can see it is actually giving us the lines which doesn't contain Python. The above one, it is giving us the lines which contains Python. Now your requirement could be like I want the line numbers. It's all fine, but I want the line numbers. Like which line is this? Is this line 8? Is this line 10? Is it line 2? Is it line 6? How do I find it out? Okay. So that is like grep hyphen nv. Like if I give here like grep hyphen nv, it will give us the lines which doesn't contain that particular pattern along with the line number. So now how do I do it here? We can actually use the enumeration. Okay, enumerate of D. And when we are actually giving enumeration, we should definitely give a line number. Guys, remember, when we are actually giving line number here, enumeration will start from 0 by default. If I'm giving enumerate of any iterator here, in this case, a file descriptor is an iterator over here, like FD is an iterator. So now, if I'm giving line number and line, it will start from 0. It will start from 0. Now, how do we control it? Let's say, how do we like make it as 1? For example, lnum plus 1 I can specify. That means here I can say, okay, one moment, controller is redo. Okay, something went wrong. I need to again copy paste here. Okay, so now here we go. Lnum here film of line and then end. Okay, so now here if I'm executing this program, here you can say it is actually containing, we are exploring Python file operation, dealing with text file is very easy, and all these things it is actually printing. Okay, so now let us see if I am actually going to, I think I've copy pasted it twice, grep hyphen v, grep hyphen nv. I can actually specify here, print here, right? To separate, and here we go. If I'm running this program, here you can see the difference. It is saying like line number 1 and line number 2. Line number 1 and line number 2, we are exploring file operations dealing with text files. Is it the correct one? No, it is line number 2 and line number 3. To understand this better, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put it here. Okay, and Python and data science, it is already there, so let me take it out. Okay, so now look at here. So which lines doesn't contain Python? Line number 2, line number 3, line number 6. But when I go ahead, run this program, let us see here. Here you can see it is saying 1, 2 and 5. It is not saying 2, 5, sorry, 2, then 3 and 6. Then how do we fix it? In this case, as I explained, like an enumeration starts with index will be starting with 0. We can also tell the enumeration start with, here you can see it will start with line number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now if I'm running this program, here I can see it is starting with 2, 3 and 6. Now which is exactly matching like 2, 3 and 6. Then you can ask me, is it mandatory that it should start with 1? Okay, I'm just giving 1000 here. Now let us see like what is going to happen here. It is giving me 1000, 1000 to 1005. Guys, remember, enumeration you can specify any number. If you are not specifying, it will start with 0. Range also, if you are not specifying anything, it starts with 0. Index also, it starts with 0. But make it like sensible. For example, line numbers in a file, it doesn't start with 0, it starts with 1. So we are going to give 1. Don't give any other number over there, right? In case of file line numbering, right? So then you can actually get the exact line count here. So this is actually same as like grep hyphen nb. Similar thing if I want to specify any other pattern, let's say I want the lines. Let me write another program. I do want to actually make it large. So now new Python file, and I'm just giving like file operation just equivalent to grep. We are going to okay, it is already there. I'm just giving here file name, file operation, then grep e, grep extended grep. Okay, ext, I'm just giving hyphen e, the regular expressions. Whenever you are using grep hyphen e, then we can use multiple patterns, right? Grep hyphen e, or you can actually use like grep hyphen e, or you can use e grep. You must be familiar with all these commands now. Okay, that is outside of this course content. So now here you can see, if I want to do the operations like multiple patterns, before I do go ahead apply on multiple patterns, let us do one thing. Let us like print the content here, like cat. I'm just taking it out, and sample.txt, and then print the file. Now here file content. So now here you can see we are having Python. Now I want the lines which contains Python, and as well as which contains data. It's not like no Python. Let's say for example, if I'm giving here if Python in maybe line. Okay, so now print line. If Python in line, print line. Now look at here. So it is giving Python is fun. The extra lines are coming because the line itself in the file is ending with a new line. And if you are not giving end equals null, then it is adding another extra line over there. So Python is fun. Python is Python with AIML, Python with data science. I need the lines which contains Python and data. I need the lines which contains Python and data. How do I tell? I can say like if Python in line and data in line, data in line, data in line, then give me those lines. Now look at here. What is the details here? It is saying like Python and data science. Okay. So now if your requirement is that's all fine. Right now I'm looking for Python in any case. Python in any case, how do I sort it? That is grep-i. Like how do I do this? I'm just giving grep-i. We are not reinventing the wheel here. Like we are not writing similar utilities what grep is doing. So here we are actually learning the Python how to do the same thing without using commands. Okay, so because grep may or may not be available in all the operating system by default. Like Windows, you go ahead run a grep, it may fail. Okay, if it is explicitly you are not installing those utilities, it may not be available. So Python is actually platform independent. So if you are actually making it platform dependent, like managing to do it using awk or using any other libraries or external commands, then we have to explicitly install those programs on the runtime environment too, where this program is going to get executed. Okay, so if you are using like Python libraries, just install the Python models, whatever is needed, then all set. It is going to work as expected. So now that is why we are actually learning this. Okay, so now here we go, grep-i. Now Python in any case, let's say I'm just looking for Python in line, and data I'm just giving here like capital case. Now look at here, earlier it was giving us like Python and data. Now here if I'm difference, I'm just giving like any case intensive, let's say asterisk 50 times. Okay, if I'm running this program here, you can see there is no data. Previously it was giving Python and data science, but now I'm searching for Python and data, it is not giving. How do we do it? Like again, guys, you need to either convert it to lowercase or uppercase. That's it. Okay. Now, if I'm giving lower of line, let's say, I think this lower of line, we can actually use this. Let me Take out this one and then try it out. Layer of line, Control Shift of 10. Now here we go. So layer of layer is not defined. One moment, guys. I think dot layer. Yeah, dot layer. Sorry, I did it like in the AWK way. So that's fine. So now here we go. Uh, here we go. So now here you can see like it is giving us the lines which is containing Python. In any case, I'm just using like Python. If I give like Python in capital case, so here what we need to do here is we need to give upper. Okay, so upper of Python, upper of that particular line, if it is there, then Python is actually returning. Okay, these are the lines which containing Python and data. So this is like case intensive. Like here you can see grep hyphen I, and if you want to ignore the case and then search for it, then convert it to uppercase or lowercase and match. Okay, that's the reason why we have actually spent good amount of time learning all these methods initially. Okay, so we are connecting the dots right now. So that's all about grep. Now let's say I want to implement. Uh, there are like specific requirements. Let's say something like this. Here we go. Python slicing basically. Okay, Python operation, or we can say cut and then slice operations. And whenever you need specific characters, you are actually using cut hyphen C in Linux. Whenever you are actually looking for certain fields, you are using cut hyphen F, right? Cut hyphen D and F. D as in delimiter, and then delimiter is something you can specify here, then followed by F, right? So this is what we are actually specifying. So now think about how to do the same thing using Python, right? So now what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to take the same file uh, and same example basically let us read. Okay, so now here we go. Here you can see these are the lines present in this particular file, right? Python is fun. We are exploring Python, exploring file operations, then so and so things over here, right? For Python and data science, dealing a text file is very easy, and all these things are there. What is my the first 3 or 4 characters? How do I do it? Okay, how do I do it? So now here if I'm giving like a line, it is printing the entire line. Here if I'm giving the slice operation, let's say 0 starts with 0, then end with like let's say 5 characters, 0 5. Okay, so now here if I'm running this program, here you can see Python, and it is not printing the lines. Okay, now here we need to actually remove the end and to see it better. Now here you can see. So this is actually printing the Python we something is actually printing. And if I want to print the line number, definitely we can actually use a enumeration. Enumerate FDI and then starts with 1, and then here I can say line number LNO. Okay, and then here we can print LNO of this. That's it. And then if I'm running the program, this is from line 1, line 2, line 6. It is actually getting the first 5 or 6, sorry, 5 characters. Okay, it is like cot hyphen C 5, 1 to 5. If I'm giving in Unix, it is cot hyphen C 1 comma 5. It is from first character till 5 character. Similar way, we are actually doing the same thing using the slicing. Now, if your requirement is that's all fine, I want like in a type in D implementation. How do I do it? So now look at here. Let's say this is my line. I'm not actually going to do anything. I'm just going to print a differentiator line over here so that we can easily differentiate between the output of the previous section and then the second section. I mean the first section and the second section of this particular program. Now here you can see this is the difference what it is printing. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to enumerate line no slicing. Let us print the line as is in the second attempt. So now it is printing the line as is, and if I want to print end equals to space or end equals to null, then you can see in a better format here. Okay, now my requirement is I want the first field. First field is what? Line number 1 is Python, line number 2 and 3 is V, line number 4, 5 is actually Python, line number 6 is dealing. So now how do I get the first field, okay, from this file? So to get the first field from this file, what we can do here is we can definitely do it using slice operations. Let's say after reading the line, I'm just doing here my record equals to hope you remember like in a split operation. What split does? Split returns a string. If you're splitting a string, it will return a list. So line dot split, I'm just giving like a split of here we go, split line dot split split, okay, line dot split. And here I'm just going to print, because my requirement is I want to print the line number followed by the first field. I can say my record of 1, my record of 0, because if it is a list, index starts with 0. If I'm running this program, here you can see what it is printing. It is printing Python, then Python, Python, and dealing. Now, if your requirement is that's all fine, I want the first field followed by the last field. It is very simple, guys. First field followed by the last field. Now, here we go. I can actually specify a last field as -1. Now, if I'm running this program, here it is actually printing Python fun, V operations, V2. Look at here, Python fun, V operations, V2, then Python ML, Python science, dealing AG. So all these things are actually there. Now, if your requirement is okay, it's all good, we got the required output, but what is missing here is like the formatting. It doesn't look good like printing everything like this. I want to align it. Guys, remember we have gone through left justification, right justification. There are various ways of dealing with the print statement. Let me do the same thing for your easy understanding. Let me do the same thing again. Here we go, and then the same piece of code I have copy pasted. What I'm going to do here is I'm just going to do my record dot left justify it L just and R just, okay, L just left justify, let's say 20 characters, and I can actually specify here my record -1 also do a left justification of 20 characters. If I'm running this program, the difference between the first and two is you can see it, notice it here, like the previous approach it was actually printing like this. In the second approach it is actually printing like this, okay. Now if I want to print something differently, like I want a header, I can actually do that. I can actually take this print statement, okay, and here we can actually specify, let's say instead of my record I can specify here first field, first field, and here I can specify last field, okay, left just and all, okay. So now line number, instead of line number we can definitely give LNO, okay. Now look at here. So if I'm giving like LNO and everything here, you can say okay, if you want to align it again, so the number alignment will be little tricky. So what we need to do here is I'll justify again, let's say I'll justify by 5, right? And here if I do L justify by 5, then we'll be definitely receiving we'll definitely receive error, or definitely going to receive or experience error. So now in this case, why? Because these justifications are actually string methods. Ljust, rjust, and all are actually string methods. Line number in the enumeration, line number is a integer. Okay. So now, if I'm running this program, definitely we are going to experience error. So what it is saying? Attribute error. Int object has no attribute ljust. That means on integer we cannot do a left justification. Okay, so how do we find a solution? We have spent good amount of time understanding the casting. If your real requirement is actually having left justification, convert it to string using casting. str of like L number, like here it is LNO is line number, and it is going to work fine. That's it. So this is how the real-time code will look like right now. Here left, line number, first field, last field. If you are familiar, little bit familiar with AWK, right? In the AWK program, how do we do the same thing? In the AWK program, how do we do the same thing? One moment, I'm just pulling it. So how do I do the same thing? It is like in AWK, I'm just writing it here for a reference only, but it is not needed actually in Python. So AWK, how do I do it? So this is the syntax, right? So I'm just giving print $1, comma, $nf, and then file name. It's just one line. And to do this, what we have done, we have given this. And if we want the line number, we can actually specify nr. AWK print nr, $1 nf, and $nf, then file name, just one line. If you want to do it in Python, this is how you need to do it. So even in Python, like no 4 5 lines of code. Then you can ask me, then why you are actually learning Python? So what is the advantage of it? There are so many advantages. So do not compare like AWK with Python. It is like multiple utilities, multiple programming languages, multiple scripting languages that are actually available. We should actually keep learning and try to implement as much as we can, using Python, at least in our Python session. So that's all about like uh, how we can actually do the operations, like what we can actually do using curves. Translation, again, lower and upper functions are there. That is nothing but translation. And if you want to, let's say for example, I have a file, and if you are familiar with like an SCD, for example, we are having SCD. In SCD, what it does some search and replacement, right, in the SCD. So now how do we do that, like replacement in Python? Now new Python file, let's say file operation, search and replace, search replace. Okay, search replace Python file. Now here we go. This is my Python file. I'm not giving like any mode here. Let us give some mode over here. Like now, I'm just giving like RT or R or anything. That's fine. Okay, and then I'm just giving like read line number line, then end equals to nothing. Okay, so now if I'm running this program, here you can see we have the data, like Python is fun, we are exploring Python, del, and all these things are actually there. Now my requirement is I want to replace Python with Java. Python with Java, how do I do it? It is very simple, guys. Like what I can do is here, just replace what? Replace. And regular expression we are yet to learn, so don't worry. And for now, let us focus on learning the hard coded values. And the regular expression also, it is pretty much powerful, and we can do so many operations over there. Now Python with Java. Now let us see here. If I'm running this program, here we go. It is saying Java is fun, Java is Java with AML, Java with data science, dealing Java with whatever the things you want. Actually, you can actually do that. Okay. So this is how we are actually going to implement the. This is how Python way of implementing SCD, like replace SCD. Sorry, in SCD, what we do, search for something, and then followed by that we are actually replacing, right? So in Python also we can actually do this kind of operation, and here you can actually use dot replace Python with Java. That is something which is possible. Now the question is like the source file got modified? The answer is no, because we have never written to the source file. If I go ahead and see the sample.txt file, it is still the same. It is saying like no, Python is fun, Python, and everything is Python. It nowhere is Java is present. Now the question is, if this is actually not going to modify the program, then how do we modify the program, right? How do we modify it? So to modify it, we have better approach. Okay, I'll just let you know. If to modify this, what we can do is we can actually do it differently. Let me do it. Either we can actually same file read and write operation. It is like now a costly approach. If the file size is huge, read and write, like in Unix, you do SCD or any operations greater than the same file. the file is going to be nullified. Okay, so now for example in Unix way I'm just doing this, let's say Python something like this. Okay, something like this SCD. I'm just giving here like substitution, let hello with hi, and then slash, okay, then g is in global, hello hi slash g, then global replacement, and in the global replacement of sample file sample.dat. Okay, so it is actually displaying the same thing. Now do one thing, like now redirect it to sample.dat. Just try this out. If you're actually coming from a Linux background, try this out. The same file you use it, and then you can actually see the difference, like how costly it is, like reading and writing to the same file, doing the same operation. So in Python, once the file is actually opened in read and write mode, we have to we have to decide like which mode we should actually open, what kind of operation we are actually doing. Let's say in this case we are going to read and check if the line contains Python, replace Java permanently. Okay, how do we do it? Either we need to actually store it in a variable, and at the last what we are going to do is we are going to write it to a file. Let's say for example I'm just going to write it here, like my list, or modified values mod lines. Okay, is a list. Hope you remember this. This is like my empty list. Now here in the empty list, what I'm going to do here is, instead of printing this, I'm just going to I'm just going to do one thing. Line dot replace. I've just given like let's say for example here line dot replace. In the line dot replace, what it does, it will be replacing, right? For example, this replace method, right? So now how do we append it? So one moment. Uh, Here we go, and then I can say my modified, I think, not my modified lines dot append, and dot append of what? I'm just appending it here. Okay, now I'm not printing anything here. Let us see like now what will be the value outside of the loop. Okay, so now here I'm just giving print modified lines, modified lines. Okay, let us see running the program. Here you can see Java is fun. We are exploring file of lessons. We'll deal with JSON and all these things, right? Everything basically, all the things are actually there, and it is modified. Now what we need to do here is we need to actually open the file, the same file with open the same file in the write mode. We can actually do that. The same file descriptor, everything we can actually do. W as of D, right? And then it is done. And then what we can do is we can say fd dot write lines, hd dot write lines, and in the write lines, what we can do here is we can definitely specify the mod lines. Okay, so line is done. Now let us have a quick look. So we are having Python, 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 and everything is Python over here, right? Now I'm just going to run this program and then see what is going to happen. Now no data here. We saw like now it has been, this is a modified list, and then we have done the writing to mod lines. Now if I go here, here you can see everything has been changed to Java. So this is how you can actually do a permanent search and replace, guys. These are the basics again. Okay, and these are the basics, and there are better ways available. Like which will be looking very very complex. You'll not able to understand if you're actually having the beginner level knowledge or trying Python for the very first time. So this is the simplified version. Like how we can actually do it. We can do it in a better way too. Okay, so this is how we can actually do the search and replacement real-time use cases. You are checking like let's say for example you are trying to spin a bucket or spin a like an EC2 instance on AWS. Okay, so now you are tracking some logs, and in that log it is going to tell us whether it is successful, not successful, the response you are parsing or response you are actually storing in a file. Then you want to actually look for certain patterns, whether the bucket has been created, not created, deleted, or there are some exceptions happen, or you are actually doing some database operations, writing the log file to a specific file which is in your application log directory, and you are looking for a certain pattern is there or not. All these things you can actually do it here. Okay, so this is the reason why we are actually learning all these utilities. Understanding the file is very easy. Dealing with the file is two lines of code. Just write, store it in FD, use read. What are the operations we can actually read is? Okay, so now here we go. We can actually use read. Read line. Read line is one line. Read lines is like we're going to read multiple lines. Okay, and then similarly write and write lines. Write lines. Okay, and you can open the file description with open, and if you're using open you need to close it explicitly. If you're using with the keyword with, then no need to use explicit close. So these are the operations what we are actually familiar. Now let's say I'm having the same sample.data file. I'm just going to tell one more operation that is known as seek. New Python file, and file operation seek tell Python file. Okay, I'm just going to use the same content here, seek and tell, and here you guys look at here. Okay, so we are having Java is fun. Java, this is 4 character, then space is fun, like now the remaining characters of this particular line. Let's say I'm just doing FD for like now with open sample.txt FD. I'm not printing anything. I'm not going to print anything. I'm just going to tell print FD dot tell me the position, where are you? I'm just saying like tell me the position, where are you? It is saying I'm at 0 right now. 0 means just the beginning of this particular character, like 0. Now I'm just telling okay fine, you just right now go to fd dot seek, now go to the position 5. Okay, now tell me where are you. I'm just asking the program, like, tell me, where are you? So now it's saying like I'm at 5 because I've set it as 5. Okay, now I'm just telling, okay, very nice. Let us do one thing. Read the remaining characters. Read of like fd.read, fd.read, then the entire line basically, right? So now what it is going to print. Now see it here. Now it is saying, okay, I think I should actually give a read line. Okay, just read one line. Now see it here. Now when I'm giving the details, now here it is saying 05, it's saying like no is fun. Let's say to understand better, I'm just giving like no Subhasis here. Okay, so now here I'm just going to run the program here. It is going to print is fun Subhasis. That means what we have done, this is a very small program, like very small program I can say. In this very small program, what we are actually trying to achieve here is fd. Fd is what? File descriptor. Tell is what? It's telling where the current control is, at the cursor is placed. Saying 0 means at the beginning. So now I'm telling like go to the 5th position and get me the remaining lines. So it is actually giving remaining lines. Then think about, then you can ask me, then why you are actually doing this? We really don't need this. Let's say you were looking for a particular file. Okay, this is my particular file. My requirement is go to the third line, go to the third line, give me the character number 5. Let's say for example character number 5 is, this is 1 2 3 4 and 5, that's starting with I. So ill till dill, ill and dill is my requirement. This is what I want. How do I do it? This is my requirement is line number 3. How do I go to, how can I go to line number 3? I'll just go ahead, open this program. Okay, delete everything. Now line number 3, blindly what you need to do, fd.readLine, because readLine is going to read the one line at a time. So 2 times you do the read line. Once you are actually doing that 2 times read line, right? If I'm taking here like FD, now you tell like ask the system print FD dot tell me where are you. I'm just asking system treasure where are you. He's saying I'm actual character number 58. It's not line number 58. It's saying character number 58. We cannot actually identify what is character number 58, but it is ideally we are actually done with two lines reads. So 58 is actually nothing but W. Okay. So now if what is my requirement is I want from I. That means it is like sec is 5 because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like 5 positions I need to add right now. This is 58, 59, 60, 61. So this is 61. So now if my current position is 50, then I can actually tell sec. I'm just saying fd.sec. Something like this we can also use fd.sec current position, then fd.tell. I think it is doable, 3 characters. Then print fd dot, let's say if I'm giving read line, okay, I'm just giving read line, it should actually print the remaining thing. Now if I'm giving here, it is actually printing will, so fd dot 4 I need to give. So if I'm giving here, I can see like yield il. So how many characters do you want? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 characters. So instead of read line, I can say read only 8 characters. So it is going to print yield and del. Okay, so guys, uh, I can give like hundreds of examples. The thing is understanding the concept well, when to use what, when to use tell, when to use seek, when to use like my read, when to use read line, when to use read lines, when to use write, when to use write lines. All these things are depends on the real time scenarios. So these are the operations, basic operations what we perform on regular text files. So these are the regular text file operations. There are situations where you will be dealing with the binary files. The binary files, before we proceed with the binary file, let me tell you something interesting. The binary file is nothing but, let's say you are playing a video game and you are playing for 1 hour, you don't actually exit from that particular video game application. You want to store the state of that particular application. When I'm talking about like storing the state of the application, you can come tomorrow and play from the same session, and where it is like let's say the state basically same state. You want to actually start from the same state, or you want to resume from the same state. Then in that case, we should store the state of the object. It could be the entire application state, or it could be any object. Let's say it's a dictionary, it's a any kind of Python object. If we want to actually store the state, we can actually do that. Python, we do have a data type known as byte. Okay, and basically, like now in the older versions of Python, we call it as actual binary files, but right now it is known as byte. Okay, let's say I'm having name equals to Subbu. Here I'm just giving Subbu. If I'm running this program, okay, I'm just giving here print here name. I'm running this program. Here you can say it is actually giving Subbu. What is the type of name? Type of name. Here you can say type of name is actual class string. Okay, I'm just going to do one thing. I'm just putting a B here. That's it. Now tell me the type of name. It is saying like now it is class is bytes. Now if I want to print, like print name, right, print name, here you can see it's nothing but like Subbu. Okay, but it's putting a B over here. Now if you want to decode the bytes, sorry, if you want to decode the bytes, we can also decode it using decode. Okay, if I give a decode, here you can see it is like giving us uh, B Subbu, then Subbu over here. So this is like dealing with bytes. What if I am having like a binary file? The binary file is nothing but a file which contains the store of, sorry, which stores the state of an object, state of an object. That object could be a dictionary, could be any Python object, could be a tuple, could be anything. Okay, and binary file, let's say the question is, when we are having files, then what is the need of binary files? Binary files can be images, can be like an audio files, can be video files, can be state of any object. And remember guys, whenever we are actually going to deal with binary files, okay, there are two things. One, we should know how to read the content from binary file. Second, what are the modes? Like, is it just same on text files? Like text file, we have actually like now we have implemented a lot of programs, or we have like now written a lot of programs to do various operations like read, write, append, exclusive creation, right? And read and write, append and read and sorry, write and read. All these operations are actually possible. So similarly, how do I do the operations on binary files? There is no specific operations, guys. Let's say read is read. Let's say for example, general file, we are actually giving r. Okay, so in that case, what we can do here is, we can, let's say, let me open any of the existing programs here. Now here you can see, now we are giving like no r here. If it is a binary file, end with rb. If it is a like no binary file exclusive creation, it is xb. If it is a binary file write operation, it is actually wb. So this is how we can actually do the write operation, read operation, and exclusive read operations, everything on a particular file. So now that's how it is actually going. That is how it is actually going to work. Now what I am going to do is, I'm just going to give like two simple examples, like how to read and write the content to a binary file. Okay, so that will be like giving you the complete idea, like how do we deal with binary files. Let's say image is there, and I want to actually like copy image to other location, just read and copy, like those kind of operation you can actually do. Then you can ask me, if copy command is there, I can directly use it, why should I actually do it using Python? That's a valid question. If the utility is there, we can do it, we can definitely use it. Okay, if I want to do it in the Python way, then definitely the only option left is like doing it using binary file operation. If the requirement is to store any state of the object, now I have actually I can actually do that using a binary file. The problem is, when we are actually storing is in the binary file, uh, we should be very much careful, because binary file we should not actually trust it, and to trust it like that. Okay, so we should actually have a better control to deal with like binary files. For example, if I'm having a state of a particular object, and some hacker has actually hacked, and then like written some malicious content in that binary file, and while reading it, it will be like very costly for us. Okay, because we are trusting, okay, it should be having all the data. So in that case, we should actually use tokenization, like HMAC tokenization, to um, uh, encrypt the data and store it and decrypt it based on the token, and then it will be very easy. Before we go ahead, write a program to deal with binary files, two words you should be familiar. One is known as pickling, that is pickle, pickle. Okay, you must be like now heard about this word on day-to-day life. So the pickle module is there, and we need to explicitly import it like now the pickle module. And to store the data, we call it as actual pickling. Like binary content, will write it to a file known as pickling. To read the data from a binary file is known as unpickling. And the methods what we are actually going to learn today is actually known as pickling and unpickling. How it is being done? It is being done using load and dump module. This load and dump module, most of the libraries, let's say for example, JSON, ML, and all these things. It does supports like a load and dump too. And if you understand the concept of load and dump in binary file, then whenever we are actually going to deal with the other files, then it will be just the easy one. Okay, it will be just like very easy. The similar operation we can actually do it on any other file. So that's all about the theory part of the binary file. Now let us do one thing. Let us try to understand like how to deal with the binary file in practical life. Okay, I'll be writing a small program and then make you familiar with binary file operations. So let me start writing the binary file program. Here we go. Python, new binary file, or sorry, new Python file. Then here I'm just giving binary file example or file underscore binary operation. Okay, so now look at here. So what I'm doing is, as I mentioned, like we should actually know import pickle module. Pickling and unpickling is done through pickle module. Okay, so now fetching the documentation, just click on that. You can see what it does actually. Model pickle creates portable serialized. Okay, one thing I did not actually tell you is serialization and deserialization. So pickling is nothing but serializing the data. Okay, and here it is like now create portable serialized representation of Python object anything. Similarly, we do have the methods I have just mentioned, like the dump and load, the dump and then the load. Here it is given dump object to the file or load the particular file. Let us write our first program to understand like how pickle works. With open, with open, I'm just giving open. File may or may not be there, so I'm just giving like my binary file dot dat. I'm just giving like that. Then here I'm just giving, if it is not there, then open it with a plus mode, a plus b mode. That is, if the file is there, we'll append. If the file is not there, we'll create using binary mode. And I'm just giving like file descriptor binary mode or FD I can give. The same FD I can actually give FD as a file descriptor. Now, what I'm going to store is, let's say, let us store a dictionary. I'm just giving like my data, or I can say our favorite variable is information about anything. Let me information about Subbu itself. I'm just giving like name Subbu. Now I'm just giving a subject Python. Now topic, just giving like topic. Topic is binary file. Here I'm just giving a year. Here is a key. Hope you remember all these things. This is a dictionary, key value pairs 2023. Okay. So this is my dictionary which contains the record about Subbu. That's it. The details about the Subbu. Now, I want to store this information. I want to pickle it and store it, serialize and store it. How do I tell the system? I can actually tell pickle the dump, pickle dot dump. This is how we should actually write to the file. We do not have a write lines operation on binary files. So pickle the dump. Okay. So now what to dump? I can say dump the information. Where to dump? I can say like dump it in the FD. That's it. So now if I'm giving this, then what is going to happen? It is going to create a file. It is going to create a file. Let's say for example here you can see it is FD is the descriptor and this file is my bin.dat. In my bin.dat we'll be having this content, all this content. Let us see like what kind of content it will be in the particular file. If I'm running this program, let me run this program. The program executed successfully. Now I'm just going to see what is there in my bin.dat file. I'm just saying like my bin.dat, let us see like the text file. Here you see. Guys, hope you will able to understand. Programmers can actually understand it very easily. How? Here you can see name, value is Subbu, subject, here you can see Python. If you scroll towards right, topic, binary file, and then here you can see year. Then after year, something is not there. 2023 is missing. After year, some data is not there because this is how the binary file is going to look like. Do not modify any binary files like this. If it is there, then you should not modify it. You should not touch it. This is how the my binary file looks like. Now that's fine. The question is, I have the binary file, but how do I read it? So now I'm just going to do the same thing. Now info with open my pin.dat and our requirement is just read. I'm just giving like read it. Read as FD and now give me pickle.load. Let's say I'm just giving here for line in pickle.load load of FD. I think we can print like this, print line. Okay, now look at here. If I'm running this program, here you can see, okay, something went wrong. Byte like object required, not str. Okay, that's fine. Okay, I'll just like not do it differently. So just hold on. We'll just do that. Before that, let us do one thing. Let us like now get familiar with another operation like now append as we are learning. Let us like now append few more details over here. Let's say my binary file.dat. Here you can see this file is there, and then I want to add one more line over here, and then we'll just go ahead and do the read operation. I think this will be pickle.load and like information one. I'm just giving your name equals Deepak, and then subject is like I'm just giving like AIML AML, and then let's say I'm just giving it 2024. Okay, so now info1.fd. Running this program again. Here we go. If I'm refreshing the my bin, here you can see the data is actually there. Topic, binary file, year, and then here you can see again name is Subbu there because we have appended the same thing. Then there like Subbu again 3-4 times. Then here you can see the Deepak's data right at last. It is just one line. It is just one line. You can see it here. So now the question is, if I have the state of many object in this file, then how do I retrieve it? How do I retrieve the binary file content? Okay. So now what we are going to do is we are going to write another program where we'll be dealing with the content load from this particular file. Let's say binary file handling, file operation, binary files. Okay, now Python file. Now here we go. And in this case, what is my requirement? My requirement is to read the content from this particular file. And while reading the content, I think I missed the RB over there, so that is the reason why it was throwing error. I think that was the cause. Okay, so now if I'm giving this right, and then what we can actually do, let's say for example, if I'm giving like a line equals to and we can actually dump it from what, from the file handler or file descriptor fd dot uh, we can do one thing actually. Okay, so now what we can actually do here is we can definitely load it using the not fd, we can actually load it using the pickle actually, pickle load, pickle dot load. One moment guys, fd. Now print, if I'm giving line here, let us see what it is going to give us. Now some error it is coming, pickle is not defined, pickle is not defined. What I'm actually doing here, pickd pickle dot line. Pickle is not defined. You mean pickle? Am I doing some spelling mistake? Yeah. Here we go. Here we go. Control Shift F10. Here you can see name Subbu subject Python binary file. One load it is actually happening, right? If I do it multiple times, what is going to happen? Let us see. I'm giving like pickle that load, again pickle that load. This is like the state of the object, pickle that load. Now if I'm running this program, here you can see the last one is actually extra one. So I can actually take it out and then run it. Now here you can see it has the state of all the objects, right? It is having Subbu's data 3 times and then followed by Deepak's data is actually present only once, right? This is what we have done the operation in the previous file. So now if I want to go back to my previous file here and then tell, okay, do one thing, do a w plus B, okay, read or WB I can say, WB and write Subbu and Deepak's data. Now the entire file is going to be modified. If I am going to run this program, I have only two records. I have only two records. Okay. Now if I'm running F10 Control Shift F10 here, it is saying like Subbu's record and Deepak's record is there. Now the question is, if pickle model, pickle that load can read only one line, how I can actually tell the system that uh, do that load until the content is there. Let's say for example 10 lines, 15 lines, 20 lines, or 20 object details, we don't know that. Like how do I actually unpickle it? Like programmatically instead of writing this, we can definitely do it using while loop. Two approaches. One is we can actually do it using exception handling is not yet done. Exception handling, if it is there, then we can actually do that way. Or else what we can actually do is we can actually go ahead, print the size. Okay, we can actually go ahead, do print the size and let's say for example, how do I do this programmatically? Like instead of having multiple line and print like multiple pickle that load explicitly and all. Let's say for example, if I'm giving here, I don't know if third object is there or not. If I'm running it, I'm definitely going to get end of file error because it is not there. So now how do I handle it programmatically? Okay, without using exception handling like try catch plug. Let us do that. That is the final program for today's session. Now file program, file operation on binary files. Then example is 3. I'm just kidding. Right, here we go. Now how to streamline this? That's fine. We have actually opened the file in the read and binary mode, that RB mode. And after reading the binary mode, what is my requirement is I want to actually control the execution and identify what is the size of this particular file. Let's for example, in this case, the file name is actually mybin.dat, right? So now how do I get it? Now I've opened it in the let's say read mode. Then I'm just telling the system do one thing, go to the first position fd.sig, and I'm just telling go to the position number 0. Position number 0 means go to the very beginning. I have already told you like a while ago what is sig and what is tell. Now I'm just going to get size equals to OS. Okay, OS, before we use OS, we need to import it, import OS. Now here I can actually go ahead and say OS. Hope you remember the program, programs, whatever we have gone through in the previous example. So OS dot here we can definitely find out the status of any file, including the size, file numbers, and anything. Okay, so now here we can say fstat. Fstat is give me the statistics. Give me the statistics of what, guys. Remember, this fstat can actually take one file descriptor number or file number. The file number I have explained like 0, 1, 2, standard in, standard out, standard error. Apart from that, we are having custom descriptors. So now in this case, my bin.dat, whatever the system is actually assigning to my bin.dat, how do I get the file number? It is like fd.file number. So if I'm giving, get me the size of waste.fstat, let's say waste.fstat, let's say I'm not giving anything, I'm just giving like, let's say I'm just giving info of this file. If I'm giving here print of info, here you see what is the result we are getting. It is saying waste.stat, it is giving size, the mode, then it is giving a lot of other information, the links, the UID, the GID, then the size, ST size, right? Here you can see ST size. Either you can see this is first field, this is named tuple actually 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. If I'm giving like 6, let's say info of 6. If I'm giving info of 6, I'm just going to get the size. Here you can see 164. Or else, what I can do is, let me remove this, and this is a num tuple. We have a name to st.size, right? I can directly take this st.size and assign it here, and then tell like this is my size. This is how I can also get it size. If I'm giving like size here, I can actually get, okay, this is the size. Now, F10 is actually size 164. Now, all done. So, now this is how we can actually get the size. Now, what we can actually do here, like once we got the size, we can say while while fd.tell, let's say for example, why I'm actually using fd.tell, because once you are actually going to use pickle.load, the position will get changed. Let's say first record is 20 characters, second record is 30 characters, third record is 50 characters. Accordingly, the tail position is actually going to change. But tail position should be less than the size. So now I'm just going to give one thing. Here what I can actually tell, while fd.tell, I'm just telling, just tell me the position, then compare it with, we don't need actually this brackets, it is like not needed over here. So now fd.tell less than size, here I can do line equals to the same thing we are going to do pickle.load, pickle.load, pickle.load of what? What is my descriptor? FD. Now print line. That's it. Now look at here. What we have done? We have got the size, then telling the position like start reading until the tell value is the cursor position value is less than the size, then print the information. If I'm running this program explicitly, I'm not telling how many records. Let us go back to our previous program. Here we go and do a AB plus. AB plus or A plus B, anything is fine. Now I'm just going to run it twice. Two records are there, running it for one time, it becomes 4, running it for another time, it becomes 6, running it for another time, it becomes 8. Now we'll go back here. I'm not specifying how many times we need to do a pickle.load because we are actually checking the size. If the current cursor position value is less than size, only then pickle it and dump it. Sorry, pickle it and load it. Okay, this is known as unpickling. Okay, pickling and unpickling. So now if I'm going to run this program here, here you can see I have not explicitly specified. Doesn't matter like uh, how many lines are actually present here. This is a real-time example of pickling and unpickling. Okay, we can dump list also. Instead, it's not like only dictionary. We can dump a list. We can dump like any object, any Python object. We can store the state of an object in a file. Let's say there is a class, there is an object you have created, the session, or any kind of object. You just take into consider any object, any Python object. You want to store the state of an object, you can store it and load it and proceed further. Okay, these dictionaries are there. Let's say you are reading something, some operations, you are going to reuse it in some other program, then pickle it, dump it, then and load it using pickle module, and that is known as unpickling. So pickling and unpickling is used to deal with the binary files. So with this we are done with the text files and binary files. So the next examples, it will be more into examples, because we are completely done with the basic operations around the files. We are going to learn like now how to deal with a CSV file. Few examples I'm going to give. We are going to like now learn how to deal with JSON files. I'll just give like now right examples, direct examples, like now to make you familiar with the remaining file operations. So that's all about for today. Let